Oh no, Niko!
Okay, so I think I'm starting with Machu Picchu.
Yo, what are we doing tomorrow?
We're going to Machu Picchu.
Theo, what are we doing tomorrow?
We're hiking tomorrow and then still can hike to Machu Picchu, 5 days.
We woke up at like 4. Some kind of like sketchy dude picked us up on the street next to our hostel, and that was kind of like the beginning of the Machu Picchu trek.
¿Alguien quiere tomar un americano puede pedir? Ordenar, por favor.
We share the energy, amigos, okay? 1, 2, 3. We say Team Lama, okay? 1, 2, 3.
Team Llama!
We hiked like 4 miles or so. Theo says like 5.5 to our like base camp. The girls got us takeout. So we got to base camp. We got to like mess around there and like hang out, meet a bunch of new people, and we hiked up to this lake. The lake was beautiful. Like we hiked up and we hiked along this ridge line. There was like horses below, there was like horses on the way up. It was absolutely way, way, way cool. That was day 1, and then we slept in like a shelter with these tents. So day 2 of the trek is pretty much like the hardest day. Probably like the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was so incredible. Like the views, like the videos don't even do them justice, but here they are. It was just... Hiked up to the top. Salcantay was incredible. There's another beautiful little lake on top, and then we hiked down. All take our shoes off and just kind of like wade through the river, and it felt awesome. And then we ate lunch there. We ate lunch at this little shelter, and it was like raining, and actually it was hailing for a little bit. So we hiked a bit more, and then we got to our actual camp for the night. We didn't have any power, but everybody was just kind of playing cards, talking, hanging out. It was a really good time. We had to hang some headlamps up from the rafters, but it was great. So day 3 of our trek, we had a relatively easy day. Definitely compared to the other ones, it was still pretty tough. But so it was like mostly rainforest. We were on the bus road a good bit, and a lot of I shot with like a GoPro because I was trying to keep this camera kind of dry. were trekking up, and there's this cable car, and I was like, yo, like, can we ride out on that? And Niko, our guide, was like, yeah, you guys can ride out on that for one soul or something like that. So Theo went, and I threw my GoPro on, and I jump in.
Touch the cable. Don't touch the cable.
And Theo's standing there, and Theo's kind of messing with Niko. He's like, yo, swing Hunter.
Oh, no, sir.
And so Niko, like, adjusts his footing, and as he adjusted his footing, he stepped over the rope that pulls me back in. And as soon as he shoved me out, it kind of like, I took off, and the rope started to pull tight. It caught under Niko's leg and drug him out over the platform. So he was like hanging off of this cliff, and Theo was able to grab him and bring him back in, and it was absolutely insane. So we had to come back in and push me out again, but it was really sketchy, but really fun. So we dropped our things off and went to the hot springs, which was pretty nice, kind of touristy, but pretty chill. We got to just kind of like swim around. Felt really nice to just kind of like get in some water and swim after like 3 hard days of hiking. Had a really chill night at a hostel. All the groups were kind of together at this hostel. Took some shots with our little group.
So Niko, surviving today.
Yeah, thank you to the guys. Cheers, amigos, for this nice group. Well, for this adventure, I think it's going all right so far.
All right, so day 4. We walked a lot on a bus road. We ate a really, really good lunch, and then we walked along these train tracks for a good while. The train tracks took a long time, and we ended up getting poured on for like a substantial amount of it. We were absolutely soaked by the time we got back. We hiked into Aguas Calientes. That was like the first night where we got a hostel instead of just sleeping in a tent. Just like everybody fell asleep. We woke back up at 6 to have one kind of last meal with our group. And then so day 5, this was the day that we got to Machu Picchu. We left our hostel at 3 o'clock in the morning. It was a really steep hike up to Machu Picchu, but it was pretty short. It was like 45 minutes or something like that. Machu Picchu was pretty incredible, but like I think the entire trek was just like 10 times better, easily, just because it was so incredible. So we hiked back down, followed the same railroad tracks back. We had some sandwiches at this little place off the railroad tracks before we got on our bus. And then the bus ride back was pretty rough, back to Cusco. So we got back from our Machu Picchu trek around like 10 or so. The bus dropped us off. We walked back up to our hostel, and then me and Theo got up at 3 o'clock in the morning to head out to the Color Mountains before we head south. And so we take this bus ride. It was like 4 or so hours. We ate breakfast, and then we got to the Color Mountains, and it was actually snowing. So we ended up not really seeing the Color Mountains, but it was still really cool. actually jumping on a bus to go south right now. Everybody's playing foosball out here, so I'm gonna go catch that. But it's gonna be our last few days with the girls. I think we're gonna kind of hang out down there, go to Lake Titicaca. So I'm super excited about that. Yeah, so that's it. As always, I probably forgot some footage, so I'm gonna stick that in right now, and I'm gonna go catch a game of foosball.